your story, new paradigms for a new world. It's time to get happy, ladies and gentlemen. We are having a returning guest on the program. You notice how I jump right in there, folks. I thank you so much for joining us for new Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World, as we talk with a returning guest. I love talking with this gentleman because of the conversations that we have, the things that we talk about, and it's just a lot of fun. There's just so much coming out of this particular part of the world, and I don't necessarily mean that literally or logistically, but in terms of philosophy. Yoichi Utebi is my guest of the Happy Science Media Division. He's the producer. He's the vice president of Happy Science Productions, and we are here to talk about a new movie, as well as some other aspects of the Happy Science. And this particular program, we're going to talk about the cherry Bushido. And Utebi, thank you so much for joining us again today. I always love talking with you.
Thank you so much for having me back again. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. First of all, let me ask you, what part of the country are you in, or I should say the world?
I'm actually back in Los Angeles right now.
Oh, okay. Not too far from where I'm at in Santa Barbara.
Yeah,
Weather's
it's very
cold.
nice.
Cold, isn't it?
It's getting a little chilly a couple of days, but still weather is perfect.
Oh, I love it.
I must
Absolutely
say.
love it. Clear skies, just fantastic.
Yes.
And that's kind of what we're looking for in our lives, in a manner of speaking, is clear skies. But life doesn't work that way. We get some snow flurries, we get a little rain
Yeah.
shower, maybe a little rumble in the earth,
Yeah.
or metaphorically, a volcano explodes, all
Yes.
kinds of things. And it is
Yes.
hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are those who it's so hard. It is so challenging. They don't want to do it anymore. They want out. But we're talking about a new film that might help in that regard. It's not focused on
Yes.
suicide or anything. The Cherry Bushido lands it lands at a perfect time to remind all of us to re-examine our convictions and spiritual fortitude in the face of today's daunting challenges or changing weather and weather patterns as well. First of all,
Yep.
um, do you folks at the Happy Science, are you looking at, like, it's because it seems like we have you on once a year, bringing out a new movie, a new film, a new aspect, if you will, of the Happy Science a year?
Actually, we have 2 movies per year. Actually, the last one
Oh,
was called The Laws of the Universe. It was animation, but I wasn't in Japan. It was quite busy due to COVID, and I couldn't really travel around. So we kind of skipped this
commercial.
radio
Yeah.
commercial stuff. But so yeah, we did one last October. So this is the one for this spring, and there's me another one coming up in this fall. So 2 per year.
Well, now this aspect of being more, I guess we would say, being more introspective, being more conscious of what's going on in our lives, but not so much on
Yep.
the outside as
Mm-hmm.
much as it is how we are, shall we say, dealing with it on the inside.
Yep.
And of course, on this
That's right.
program, and you've been here enough times, we've talked about it, where we encourage people to participate in the decade of perfect vision, where we, encourage people to go within and listen to that still small voice and be
Yep.
still themselves
That's right.
and be quiet and calm and get some rejuvenation, if you will, re-energization in that period.
Yes.
Some may meditate. Some may pray. I mean, I know, as a Roman Catholic, born and raised in the Roman Catholic tradition, I know of a lot of people who would spend sometimes a lot of time, let's say, praying the rosary. For them, that is their quiet
Sure.
time. That is that peace,
Sure.
that calming
That's
space.
right. That's right.
Let's talk a little bit about not just the film, which we'll jump into here in a moment, but let's talk a little bit about the aspects of the Happy Science and some of the techniques, if you will, that the founder has sort of laid forth, if you will, to help us to just
Yep.
Uh,
Serenity of your mind, I guess.
balance, yeah, balance
Balance.
ourselves.
Yeah, yeah. Again, I think we talked about it last time as well, but there's just so many things going on out there in the world,
Hmm.
okay, in a positive way and also a negative way. I mean, if it's a positive way, it could be materialistic things that you gain every day, or the great things that you have around you. It's great, okay. It helps you to feel more satisfied and bring you happiness to your life. But we don't want to be too attached to it. You don't want to be too attached to a house, a car, because these things will pass away eventually. If you die, you go back to heaven. That's what we believe in. So, but it's always nice to have those luxuries and things that you have that will make you feel happier and feel more comfortable. And so that is great, but just don't be too attached to it. That's the one thing, right? Another thing is about the negativity that you have in your life, especially with the COVID, the couple years going on, and seems like it's going to go for a few more years, right? The variants coming out, it just nonstop, and we still don't know the real root cause, where it's coming from, and things like that. And with that, like in the United States, inflation, the gas price. I just came back from Japan, and gas price in Los Angeles is just crazy
Yeah.
up, and these little things, but it's so important in our lives, and that really connect directly to our everyday life, and it really gets to us, right? This
Yeah.
and eventually it gonna gets to us little by little, and it sinks into us. So I think staying away from too much of attachment, but also try to find the calmness within yourself, whatever the turbulence that's happening around you, whether it's a hurricane that's going around you. As long as you can focus your mind to yourself, in yourself, you can always find this peacefulness within you. And I mean, that's the most important thing, because at the end of the day, the things that happens around you, a lot of times you cannot control them within your own right. It's out of your control. So the only thing you can control is yourself. Like, you can't even control the people's mind, the people that sitting next to you. You want them to think this way, but they just can't. They just want. How much if you want them to? Because it's their choice. Okay? It's the environment's choice. It's Earth's choice, what the Earth wants to do. So at the end of the day, it all comes back to ourselves.
Yeah.
So
Darn that free will.
the
We can't get
mindset,
them to think the way we want them to.
yeah, you
Yeah.
just can't rest. The mindset of your true self is more important. That's why in Happy Science, we do appreciate what's happening around us, and we do realize what's going on, and we have to be conscious about it. Okay, but at the end of the day, it has to come back to yourself. So,
We're going to talk about the film in a minute, but you grew up. You were raised in a, and it's strange to put it this way, only because I don't see Japanese as, say, a philosophy. There are
yeah,
philosophies within the Japanese culture and
sure.
society, but you grew up in a Japanese Christian
That's
home.
right.
How
Yeah.
is that different from, say, whether I'm Roman Catholic or Protestant or whatever? I grew up in an American Christian home. How is that different?
Yeah. Um, well, being a Christian in Japan is kind of unique, right? Basically, because as you know, Japanese people don't have much of religion. Buddhism, Shintoism, those are more like a philosophical point of view, where it doesn't really connect to faith, right? So not many people in Japan has so-called faith. Like in America or around the world, if you say, "Oh, I don't believe in God," then they're gonna say, "Are you sure? Are you sure you're not believing in God?" Unless you're like 100% atheist, right? But usually people would say, what? But in Japan, if you say I believe in God, they're gonna look at me like a little strange person. So it has a kind of opposite view, strangely enough, in Japan. So I was raised in that kind of environment. But I don't know, it was always there isn't much difference, compared to the other kids. I was just raised as a Christian, and I was living in Lebanon. Lived in Lebanon, Beirut when I was very young. So that influenced me more, probably not just Christian, but being in touch with like a culture with Muslim and other different varieties of different cultures. So that became the really baseline of who I am today. So maybe maybe I'm a little different from just a normal Japanese person who has never been, I'm sure everybody has been traveling around the world nowadays, but actually lived in a different country and really experienced the different cultures and values.
Yoichi Utebi is my guest. Yoichi Utebi is joining us here, talking about the Happy Science, talking about the new movie, The Cherry Bushido. And we are talking about that here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and it's always a pleasure to have Yoichi with us here on the program. To talk about all of the different aspects, not just of the Happy Science, which obviously is his main focus as as a producer and the VP and so forth of the production area of the Happy Science. 2 movies a year. That is quite honestly a very impressive effort on the part of this particular area in terms of the media area, the media division, but just for anybody. We were, a matter of fact, I was just having a conversation with somebody about James Cameron, who of course produced Titanic and Avatar and so forth, and he doesn't put out 2 movies a year.
No.
We get 1 a year out of this guy, but he's also working on a lot of other things. Let's talk let's dive into the movie a little bit. First of all, I know what a cherry is. What is Bushido?
Okay, so Bushido is a code of conduct. Okay, code of conduct. Maybe you can put it as a samurai spirit or samurai way. That would probably give you a little hint. Oh, I think I know where we're going. Or the code of knight in Western society, or the chivalry.
There you go.
Right. Then that would be like, oh, okay. I think that it's a noble code of nobility. It's a way of life. That was really stemmed from traditional Japanese ancient ideas. So Bushido is a code of samurai. I guess we're not sure where the origin comes from. The true origin, but it probably began like 800 years ago or so in Japan. It was like a swordsmanship of samurai. You know what samurai is, right?
Yeah.
But integrating like the aspect of Buddhism, Shintoism, and the Confucianism. So kind of integrating the philosophy and religious aspects to the swordsmanship. So that kind of became the way and lifestyle of samurais. That also became kind of roots of our culture. So how we act and how we think, in a lot of ways, we refer back to Bushido spirits. But nowadays, this Bushido spirit is being lost around the world, not just Japan. I mean, this Bushido spirit is not just Japan. It's a code of knights and chivalry. So it is, global thing.
Yeah.
But we are kind of getting lost in it. We are losing this kind of very, very important morality and code of conduct in our everyday life. So what we wanted to portray through this movie is to bring back, restore the very important spirit as human beings to have within ourselves to actually live through this very difficult time and age that we're going through. So that is like a Bushido. Yeah.
I know I've often heard this phrase, and I'm sure you've heard it as well, because you use this word, and I even asked the question, is chivalry dead? I mean, I guess maybe the Western construct, if you will. And what I find fascinating is that there are those, especially in the West, here in the United States, who are they refer to themselves as feminists. That's great,
Feminist.
Yeah. I don't know if I would put myself in that category, although I grew up with 4 sisters and obviously a mother and so forth. And I have a great deal of respect. I open doors for my wife all the time. I do things for her that I know she can do, but I just feel compelled, to do that. At the same time, I also have to balance that with letting her do what she wants to do, not taking away her power, as it were. And so there's that I don't know if other men struggle with this, and maybe we can talk a little bit about this in terms of Bushido. Maybe I shouldn't. I'm going to go through a door into a store, and there's a woman right behind me, but I'm not going to hold the door for her. However, set aside the fact that it's a woman. How about just your fellow human being and being kind? Putting in that context,
That's right.
I'm
That's
just
right.
being kind. It
Yep.
has nothing to do with the fact that you're a woman or you're a man. I'm just being kind.
That's right.
And I know there are some men that are getting in trouble for
Hmm.
being kind to women. It's almost as, yeah, I'm sure you've heard the phrase or the word mansplaining.
No,
Yeah,
mansplaining. No,
it's
no.
where a guy will begin to explain to a woman a certain thing, and she already understands it. Why are you mansplaining it to me? You do not need
Hmm.
to explain it to me. I understand.
Oh, man explaining something to women. Okay,
Yeah, when the
mansplaining.
woman doesn't need the explanation.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So I feel as though men, and I know we're kind of off topic a little bit, but
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I feel a little bit like men are kind of caught between a rock and a hard place in that, you know, what do we do? What do we do? And I don't know if Bushido has similar attributes to it, or
Mm-hmm.
if Bushido is
Hmm.
a code of conduct
Yep.
towards other human beings, not
Mm-hmm.
towards particular gender or age or what have you.
Yes, that's right. Right. It's definitely towards other people. It's the because Bushido is very. It's about everything that's around you, surrounds you. So it is about not. It's also about yourself, but it's also the relationship between you and others.
Hmm.
But if you think about it in terms of men and women, I think again, if you go back to the traditional way of Japan, we believe there is a certain 13, I don't know, certain ways that should be a men's way and women's way. So there should be there's no discrimination here. It's just that the man is stronger than women. Okay, that's just how we were born.
Just
Okay,
physically. Yeah.
yeah, physically, men are supposed to go out to the field and hunt the deer and fish and come back. So this way, weaker women and children we can support them and survive.
Right.
And so men will go out there and hunt, and we'll come back with a big deer, and
Right.
we'll probably cut them up. But the women can cook for us, for children, to nurture the children and support the children and support the men who were out there all day long and
Right.
coming back with very stressful and tired. So that was like 100 and 200 years ago. So
Yeah.
men and women was totally clearly distinguished. The mission and job was just clear.
Yeah.
But maybe, of course, there's always the weak man who doesn't want to go hunt,
Yeah.
or the very brave women. That's okay. It's just that in from general perspective, there's always a man and women. But nowadays, it's kind of getting mixed because man doesn't have to go out there and hunt anymore. Everybody can sit in front of a computer and use our brain and live our life through the life, entire life. So the women can do that, and also men can do that. So it's getting a little bit difficult in distinguishing the true mission of what the man should be and what woman should be. But I think we believe, especially in Bushido spirit, so there should be like a really basic code for men and women. That should be a little different. But at the end of the day, it's for everybody, and there's no discrimination between men and women. So that's how I would look at it. It's my personal view, actually. Yeah.
Well, I have to say that our roles are changing, have been changing
Yeah.
for the last 100 years or so,
Hmm.
and still changing. And I think
That's
for a
right.
good for on a good side, I think
Hmm.
it's a good thing because we're people. I remember back in the 70s when the Equal Rights Amendment here in this country was really being pushed and pushed
Hmm.
and pushed, and I
Hmm.
thought, how could you not be in favor of
Hmm.
giving women who are half the population
Hmm.
of this country as well as the world,
Hmm.
how could you not be in favor of giving them the same rights, equal rights to men?
Yeah, of course.
I still cannot understand how a company
Yeah, yeah.
can pay a man more than a woman for the same
Hmm.
task. It's the
Hmm.
same job.
That's right.
I've never
That's right.
understood that. It
Yeah,
boggles my mind.
yeah. That's discrimination. I have to say, that's just
Well,
just can't
yeah.
happen. I mean,
But well,
of
years
course,
ago it was just the way it was. Now it's discrimination. Yeah.
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 Of course, if the man happened to be the specific man happened to be doing 10 times more job than the woman, of course the man should be get paid higher. But if it's the opposite, if the woman is doing 10 times more than that specific man, of course the woman should be get, it's not about either
Yes.
man or woman. It's just about, is the society's structure that should be fit into,
Yeah. I remember being
but not
taught.
about men and women or the color of a race.
Right, right. Well, I remember being taught early on when it came to work. Always remember, Richard, there's going to be somebody out there who is better than you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody, they didn't specifically say a man, somebody who's better than you at what you do, and there's going to be somebody that's not as good at you, good at what you do as you do. Okay? That's
Sure.
just the way it is. Whether it's a male or a
Yep.
female doesn't matter.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that that's something that's really something that people need to keep in mind. And that's just
Mm-hmm.
the way it is because we all have different talents, different
Mm-hmm.
skills and abilities.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We're talking with our very special guest, returning guest to the program from the Happy Science. He is the media division producer, VP of Happy Science Productions. His name is Yoichi Utebi, and we are going to continue our conversation with him here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and we're here with New Paradigms for a New World. And I would have to say that the Happy Science is a new paradigm that people are becoming more and more familiar with, hopefully through this program as well as other outlets. The website that folks can go to if they would like more information, I would take it is happyscience.com. And we hope that you will go there, folks. We'll be linked to that website.
.org.
.org. It is, that's right, nonprofit.org. So
That's right.
happyscience.org. And of course, we're linked to your website as well with all of these interviews that we do with you. And the reason that we do these interviews with Yoichi is because it's fascinating. I think it's something that we need to consider. Am I saying that we all need to convert? I don't even think you, Yoichi, are wanting people to quote unquote convert, give up what they've known a lifetime in exchange for. I would venture that you still hold to many of the Christian values, if you will, as a member of Happy Science.
Mm-hmm. Of course, yeah. But eventually, after you start to study a lot, you understand there's just so much here in Happy Science teaching that it's not about convert, whether you take this or take that. It's just everything kind of integrate all together as one. So at the end of the day, it comes all one, becomes one.
Exactly.
One source, right?
At one source, exactly right. Now, would you consider, and I want to we'll get back to the movie as well. I love the fact that we kind of go this way and that way and the other way, and that's a good thing. It makes for a very interesting conversation. But would you consider the founder of the faith, the Happy Science philosophy, as I like to refer to them? It kind of takes religion out of the equation because it's not a religion. It's more of a philosophy. Would I be fair in saying, putting it that way?
I don't know. I would say it's a religion. I mean,
Okay.
Happy Science started as a philosophy, or it was like a university for your lifetime. That's how we started. But eventually, it is becoming more lean towards religion. So that's why we established religious status in Japan. So we are religious corporation, as you know, we are registered as religious corporation. It's called in Japan, but in the United States, it's NPO because that's how religious organization works. So I would say if somebody asks you, is Happy Science religion? I would say yes, it's a religion. It is a belief in Happy Science.
Is Ryuho Okawa considered to be the latest messenger of God? A prophet, savior, messiah? What is his role in our society as the founder of the Happy Science?
Okay, so that's a very direct question. Yes, we believe Master Ryuho Okawa is the messenger, or is the actual the part of the source, one of the source of the universe, okay, or the God of the earth, I guess, one of the supreme God of the earth, that's descending on this earth as a part of it to tell the world the true idea and true philosophy and true guidance of what the gods or the universe wants us to go forward with. So he's a messenger, but also he is the being, actual being, I would say. That's what our belief is, right?
Okay. Okay.
And how can we prove this?
That's the
You
next
can't.
question.
You
Yeah.
can't prove it. You can't prove it, right? You can't prove it, right? When Jesus was walking down the street, 2,000 years ago, I mean, if it's difficult, somebody, the great beings, like in Buddha, right, was at that time it was great because a lot of people did admire the person, but the history kind of tells us real truth. History will tell in 100 years after. So as we are living through this age, with Master Okawa together, if somebody asks me, so Yoichi, show me, prove it to me, right? The only way I can tell them is like, well, there's 2,000 books out there, and like 2,000 lectures that he's been doing for 30 years. Please read them. Listen to the things that he's been talking about. Listen to the people who has his members, and how it's like, look at the fruit, right? Whether the fruit is sour or sweet. If it's a sour fruit, if it's a rotten fruit, that means the original source is not a good thing. It's a bad thing, right? But if the source is good and people are being much happier and happier every day, and the people that you talk to who's related to happy science is a good people, that means the fruit is good. So that's, I think, the only way we can really show to the world that we are a good thing in this world, not a bad thing. We are not a negative thing in this world. It takes time, I think.
Yeah. And
Definitely.
it's not here to replace anything. It's like you said, it's something to, if you will, be added
No,
to be added to what we are,
added
where
to
we already are.
what we are today. That's right.
Is Master Okawa considered to be a prophet? Does he speak prophetically about coming events and things of this nature, similar to, of course, what I mean? I saw a documentary just the other day about. It was entitled "Before the Wrath," referring to the Christian teachings about the second coming, the rapture, the Armageddon, and so on and so forth.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And I sit here going, yeah, okay, they've been saying that for over 2,000 years. This is getting old. I'm bored with this story. Could we move on to something else? I'm just not buying that. And if it happens, okay, surprise, it happened. Nothing I can do about it. But I'm curious, is there anything like that within Happy Science?
Oh yes, Master Oka always give us a lecture on the current situation and what's coming up ahead of us in the future, near future. So he's been giving us a lecture that the COVID thing is not going to go away for a while.
Yeah.
Okay, it's going to take maybe a few years ahead, and there's going to be more variants coming up soon. I mean, Omicron wasn't so strong. It was kind of weaker, right? But we predict that there's going to be something much stronger will be coming up soon. Hopefully, hopefully it won't affect much people.
Yeah.
And so he's been giving us quite a warning. He's predicting there will be a more earthquake, maybe volcano eruption sometimes coming soon. And so next couple 2-3 years is going to be a very rough ride, in other words, for us all human beings. He's already giving us, but that doesn't mean the world is going to end.
Right.
It's just that we need to wake up to our true self and true spirituality in order for the human beings, humans, to overcome and grow out of this just really selfish, self-centered justice, and self-centered way of thinking, and be more kind to others. But at the end of the day, faith, we have to restore the Bushido spirit. But Bushido spirit's root is faith. Everything kind of goes back to faith. Without belief in higher existence, humans cannot be humble, and we're always going to be arrogant. So
Oh, yeah.
that's a very, very important message as he's really trying to tell the world. So it's a universal teaching.
Yeah.
So hopefully people will hear us and understand what we are trying to do here. Yeah.
Right.
So he does do a lot of predictions for the future.
Yoichi Utebi is my guest here on the program. We're talking about the happy science. I want to talk a little bit more about some of these things as well as we continue. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I thank you so much for being with us, Yoichi. It's a couple of things I want to ask you about. Number one, as I said, I watched that documentary called Before the Wrath. From my perspective, as I have studied Christianity for the past, I'd say 40, 50 years, not so much from the Catholic perspective, but just in general, because I worked for 15 years. 15 years I worked for a Christian radio station, and I'm hearing all of this stuff, and I'm sitting there going, this stuff doesn't make any sense. There's no logic here. By the same token, they say the same thing when I try to talk about politics, and I use logic and say, if that's the problem, Richard, you can't use logic in politics. Well, maybe you can't use logic in religion or philosophy in that regard. One of the things that is said is that after this life, and again, in the Christian philosophy, you die. Then comes the judgment, and either you make it to heaven or you make it to hell. Even if you make it to heaven, for the rest of your existence, in this case, eternity, you will basically just be sitting there or standing or what have you in the presence of the Almighty for all of eternity. And I'm going, doing what? What? That's it?
Yeah.
That's the end of the process is we're just going to sit there and bask in the glow of the great Almighty. Not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I'm sorry, but maybe it's from my ego mind coming from there. I'm going, that's not enough. I'm sorry. Hey, all praise, great, but I'm going to come back here.
Definitely.
So
definitely, yes.
Okay, so what does the happy science teach about what happens to us as spiritual beings after this life, after I take off this coat, the meat suit, and where do I go, what do I do, etc.?
Yeah, so again, this is like the very, very entry level of teaching of happy science. We have eternal soul, like everybody else, or other religions saying, but we we reincarnate back and forth, earth and the heavenly world. And sometimes you have to do some self-reflection in hell. But so you live, let's say, 80 years of life here. Okay? And you forget, actually, let's start from the heaven, okay? Because that's easy.
Sure.
You are in heaven, you are living in heaven, just like a spiritual being. You have a same consciousness, okay, like who you are. And you say, okay, it's time for me to go down to the earth. Let's go down to the earth. See you guys later. You come down to the earth. You're born as a baby. When you're born as a baby, you forget about everything that all the memories you had in heaven. You just forget it, just for this 50 years. Why do you forget it? Because this is a challenge for you. It's like a soul training. Okay, ready, start, go. 80 years. Let's see how good you can be as a human being. You know what I mean? And live through the 80 years. And after you finish 80 years, you leave your body, just like you say, you go back to heaven, and there'll be a judgment, or you judge yourself in how did I do. Now, when you go back to heaven, you remember everything back. Oh, now I remember, and you're gonna remember everything back, and you can look back to what you did for 80 years, and I'm gonna say, oh my God, all these things that I promised I'm gonna do 80 years before, I only did one, or maybe I did more than 8. I did great, or maybe you say I did 0. I actually did something even worse, and the things I should not have done. I hurt people. I was a bad person. Then you're gonna have to go down to hell a little bit to do some little self-reflection, and you realize the things that you did wrong, Then you go back to heaven and you continue on living, okay, as a spiritual being, just like you are living here.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Well,
same, maybe much more wider variety of consciousness. Then one day, maybe 300 years, 500 years, you're gonna decide, I think I'm gonna try another soul training, and you come back here again, and you reincarnate and reincarnate. That's how you grow your spirit, and that's how you can become humble on living on earth, because you're not ending your life as as soon as you end your life here. The life continues on. If you think about that, it's kind of scary too, right? You can't do such a bad thing anymore because it's going to continue on, and we believe that's the truth. So that might hopefully answer your question.
it does indeed. And so, obviously, the concept of reincarnation is something that's been around for thousands of years, in
Yeah,
spite of the
that's
fact
right.
that specifically the Christian philosophy seems to be one of the few that does not. And when I say
Yeah.
philosophy, I'm talking about the modern day orthodoxy, does
Sure.
not accept that
Sure.
concept,
Yep.
for the basic reason that, well, gee, if you believe in reincarnation, that means you can kind of slough off this life. You can do whatever you want. You can go out, rape, pillage, and plunder, because you'll come back and you'll do it again. Well, that's not exactly how that works. It's not. That isn't the way if you are taught it correctly. Obviously, in
That's right. Yeah.
Hindu, you talk about karma, or the law of cause
Yes.
and effect.
Cause and effect. Yes. We
Yeah.
talk about that a lot in Happy Science as well. Yes.
Hmm.
Definitely.
Let's talk about that a little bit as we continue here on Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. I'm Richard Dugan, your host. I'm here with Yoichi Utebi, and we're talking about the happy science. We're also talking about the cherry Bushido. I don't know why, but for some reason, now you say what do I want to say? It's a code of conduct. And I have to say that I like that because it adds something that I like within our society, or at least within the human existence down through certain parts of our time, a certain aspect of tradition, of even ritual and ceremony. Is there some of that within the context of happy science?
You mean what do you, sorry, what
Well,
was the
something
question?
along that. Well, maybe even if you took a look at, let's say, Catholicism, there's a great deal of tradition, of ritual,
Oh.
ceremony, that
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. And to me, Bushido, this code of conduct,
Mm-hmm.
sort of lends itself
Mm-hmm.
to. I would, and correct me if I'm wrong. Like there are certain steps that one needs to take in order to progress.
Oh, I see, I see.
Yeah.
Well, in general, Bushido spirit, there isn't like that kind of it's not a religious philosophy. Bushido itself it's a code of conduct. So
Sure.
it's like the way of well, Master said Bushido is like the way of life of brave soul, the way of life of brave soul who choose the path of justice, true justice over your self-interest
Ah.
or your self desire.
Mm-hmm.
So the life of a person who puts everything for others instead of putting yourself first. So that's the kind of the true concept the way Bushido comes from. I mean, Master says somebody like Lincoln. I don't know. I hope you like Lincoln because sometimes people don't like Lincoln, but I think Lincoln.
Go ahead.
You know what I mean? I have to be
I
careful,
do. I
but
know what
I
you
hope
mean.
you
I know
like
what you mean.
Lincoln. I
Yes.
mean, I love Lincoln. Yeah, you know what I mean, right? Because he put slavery. Yeah, he ended slavery. That was his mission that he was guided. He received from God. Lincoln, you have to end slavery because it's a bad thing. It's a wrong thing for human being. So he had to end it. But in order for him to end slavery, he had to lose, I don't know, 600,000 lives, or it could be
Yeah.
million people's life, or young soul's life. So he knew he struggled so hard through those life that he was going through because he was losing humans' life, people's innocent life. But he knew he had to go through it because it was his calling from God. He needed to end slavery, but he did at the end. but he was assassinated at the end, right, at the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And he saw Dream 3 times before he went to the theater. So all the guards and the family said, Lincoln, don't go to the theater because you're going to be assassinated. And he even knew, because he saw in Dream actual moment where he was going to be assassinated, but he went there anyway because he knew it was he did what he needed to do, and it was a responsibility that he needed to take. So to close his responsibility, he went there anyway, right? To finish, I don't want to perish away in his life, but he did what he needed to do. So that's like a spirit of Bushido.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like Julius Caesar too. Caesar did what he needed to do to integrate and create Roman Empire, but he was assassinated. He was killed by his best friend. But again, Caesar probably knew, he did what he had to do, and it was time for him to go back to heaven. So he just went along with same as Jesus Christ. If you want to, all the great figures in this world, if you really look at them and study them, they do something for others for the greater goods, greater cause, despite the fact they might lose their life. It doesn't matter. It's what you live for and what you live for this on earth. And I don't want to say the word exchange over your life, but in your lifetime, what is it that you can do for the people? So that's a kind of spirit that is important that we should have today in today's world, because everybody's just so into themselves and self-centered. Think about others first.
Yeah, it's hard to get through to some people sometimes because of that. It's one of those things that that we want a better life for everybody.
Yeah,
However, we can't force someone to do something that they don't want to do.
that's right.
Again, it goes back to that issue of free will.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have to struggle with that. I would like to also ask you, I would like to have a little conversation here along those same lines about what the happy science teaches about the difference between free will and predestination, as we're talking here with Yoichi Utebi, and we're here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I want to ask you, Yoichi, about what Master Okawa talks about in terms of the juxtaposition, the balancing act, if you will, between, and you made reference to his prophetic utterances, of course, about COVID and about this and that and the other thing, between that and free will.
So the free will is given to us by God, right? By higher being, Buddha, because without free will, you can't so again, it's a I'll say it's a responsibility, okay, as each souls that we've been giving. So when we are giving life, we were giving freedom as well. Okay? It's a free soul. So you have a choice to think in any ways you want. Okay, you can think for the love of the humanity rest of your life, or you can think only for yourself. It doesn't matter if you kill somebody else, as long as you're happy, you're okay. So that's a free will too. But again, it's a choice that we have to make, and it's a responsibility as a child of God to choose what is right and what is wrong. So that's why without that free will, you won't be able to choose what is right and what is wrong. So it's a difficult thing, but again, I think it's very important that we are giving free will. You know what I'm trying to say here? Yeah. I'm sorry, I can't.
But is the universe on a particular trajectory, both materially as well as spiritually? In other words, we're on this globe, we're on the earth, we're exercising our choice, our free will. We talk about choices all the time, giving people choices and knowledge of those choices to help make their dreams come true. but it's kind of like, yeah, you have, I'm taking Amtrak from Santa Barbara to Phoenix, let's just say. Okay. I can't change the direction of the train. I can't slow it down. I can't put it in reverse. I can't throw it onto another track and go somewhere else. My destination is going to be Phoenix. But while I'm on that train, I can make all kinds of choices. I can go to the food car and I can order a beer. I can have a sandwich. I can have a soda, ice cream, whatever I want. I can sit anywhere I want on the train, talk to anybody or not talk to anybody. I can spend all the time on my phone. In other words, I have all these choices. However, I can't change my destination. Now, the only exception to that I would say would be I could get off the train between here and Phoenix, okay, at one of the next stops. Sure, that would be another one of those choices. But the train's going to Phoenix. If I stay on it, that's where I'm going.
I see, I see, I see, I see. Well, actually, you can change your destiny, but again, as a soul, okay, you are soul training, right? So before you come down to earth, you already like you plan your life. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do. This is what I'm gonna do, and this is how much I'm going to progress my soul, and and how much love I'm gonna give, and how much positive things that I'm gonna give to the world. Then I'm gonna go back to heaven. So there is a train, but you set your own train, right? So that's the one thing. You set your own train because you are still in the destiny or the train ride.
Sure.
Going back to where the God is. It's the eternal train ride, right? So yes, in this short period of lifetime, 50 or 68 years,
Sure.
there is a train that runs, but you still have free will. Okay, so within the train ride that you decided this is the train you're gonna ride, you still have a free will. So that's what God's looking at you. So what kind of choice are you gonna make that you said you're gonna do? Are you gonna really do what you said you're gonna do? Are you gonna just sit around and eat sandwich and do nothing while the baby is crying next to you? Or you're
Yeah.
gonna go out there and help the little baby and the mother? That's
Yeah.
your choice you have
Sure.
to make. So God's saying, are you gonna make the right choice or wrong choice? So that's like the free will part.
Right. So,
Because yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
okay, but and certainly I understand all of that. But the universe itself
Mm-hmm.
I can't change the course of the future for the universe, both materially and spiritually. It's going where it's going. It's going to do what it's going to do, no matter what choices I make, whether I choose to do good or bad. And that's really where I'm coming from, because it goes back to what I said earlier about how kind of a boring existence again, and no disrespect here, kind of a boring existence to just spend the rest of eternity basking in the glow of the Almighty, which might be satisfactory to some, but it doesn't sound like a whole lot of fun after a while. If that's the direction, if that's the end of our path, I'd like to I'd like to change paths, but that's kind of where I'm going here.
I
I'm
see.
talking
Yeah.
more about again. I'll just stick with the train analogy. As I said, the universe is going in the direction it's going. This train is going to Phoenix. Period. Okay. Let's just say I can't get off the train. You're right. I still have free will. I can still make choices while on the train, but the train is still going in that direction and it's still going. And so now when I put it in the context of the universe, that's really what I'm asking about. Is there any conversation from Master Okawa in that regard
I
to
see. I see.
what
Yeah.
is there and maybe this is a question that does not require an answer because it's irrelevant to the present moment. But what is the end game
Yeah.
of and for the universe?
And gift for the universe. Well, it's eternal progress. I have to say, it's gonna hopefully like I wouldn't know, but it's a eternal progress. I
Okay.
guess for the older because we can all become God someday, right? Because we were born from God. That means we can become God someday. I don't know how many years it's going to take. Maybe it takes millions and millions of years, but we can get to the stage where we can become like a God of the earth, right? So we are, even though how small we are today as each individual human beings, there is a levels of human spirituality, right? So of course Jesus Christ probably have a much, or Buddha has so much more higher, or Master Oka has so much higher consciousness and than I am, of course, right? But I can become a Buddha someday if I keep training and if I endeavor myself, right? So there's always a step up higher, going up. It's eternal path, but there's always a progress. And when you said about you cannot change the destiny of the universe, I think we can, and I think that's what the God wants us to do. If we don't change our mindset now, the world might end, you know what I mean, as an end game. God might say, human beings, you guys just never learn. So why don't we just finish this soul training ground called Earth once? Let's just finish it up, because it doesn't matter if you finish it. The soul is not gonna die, it's gonna continue on. So we're all gonna go back to heaven and say, I'm sorry, God, we couldn't do the right thing and we had to destroy the Earth. I'm sorry. So should we create another planet called Planet X? Should we move to the next planet? Should we do this another soul training? Or God might say, you know what, you guys are so bad, I'm gonna just erase you. It's God's choice, but God won't erase us because he's he's full of passion and compassion. They will let us live. Even Lucifer, right? The demons are living on palms of God's hand, even how bad these guys are, right? Evils. So they'll never erase us. But if we do the right thing, and if we become humble and change our course of destiny on Earth, we can bring this Earth to become a really, really beautiful Earth. But if we don't do that, then we can destroy the Earth. So God is actually telling us very moment, if you keep going now and look where you're now, okay, and there's no future for us. But it's up to you guys.
And we were talking, of course, about the code of conduct called Bushido, which is the movie the Cherry Bushido is based upon. And I want to ask you a little bit about that in along these same lines. You say that as long as we do make good choices, do good things. But there are those who, from probably your estimation and mine, are not doing good things, but from their estimation, they're doing good things. And all we have to do is take a look at those we have labeled as tyrants and dictators and terrorists and so forth. They think they're doing a good thing. Genghis Khan and Hitler and Mussolini. And I beg people's pardon here, Putin, or whoever was in charge of Rwanda and other places that have had such atrocities. And again, that's a judgment by another human being on what a particular event. How does the happy science deal with that aspect of, some might say, I guess that's relativism, where, well, it all depends upon your perspective, how do we balance that one? You've got your perspective and I've got mine. All right. I think you have green skin, but really you have blue skin. But I say it's green because that's my perspective. Okay. And your name isn't Yoichi. It's Bill. Okay. How do we grapple with that one?
So a lot of times we Master Okawa give us a lecture, okay, because he's a spiritual being. Okay, he can understand what's happening around the world, and we understand. I just made this a little something wrong with this. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, you're there. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. So what I was saying, for example, China. Take for instance China. China is very obvious, right? Is Xi Jinping a good guy or bad guy? I mean, I'm sorry, but there's nothing wrong with Chinese people living there. Actually, we feel responsibility that we have to release the suppressed Chinese people. Okay, So there's a little thing wrong with this mic. From suppression of Xi Jinping and Chinese Communist Party. So we believe communism is wrong in this world, right? So we say outward, we say very like we don't, because we do have a political party in Happy Science as well. Well, we're a religion, but we also a political party. So we do say what needs to be said. That's like a spirit of Bushido spirit. Be courageous and say what you think is right. And when we say things, we taught by Master Okawa, and we contemplate on whether what is right and wrong. And after a while, as a concrete decision, we go out there and say things that we don't think if it's right. So we talk about the danger of a nuclear, missile from North Korea, years and years and back, like I don't know how many years ago. Nobody was talking about it. There's a danger that North Korea might be shooting a missile in Japan, right? There's nobody talked about, but we used to go out there and talk, okay? And people used to say we're crazy. Happy Science people are crazy. They're saying that North Korea is launching a missile on us, but eventually, after a few years pass, it actually started to happen and became realization. And look at today, okay? They just shot seven times, maybe I don't know how many, more than 50 missiles, towards Japan Sea, and that's what happens in this movie as well. There's a scene where there's invasion from a country called Sodora. That's like it's not a real country, but there's a missile attack from. That's the story of this movie. So. From Master's vision and what he sees, we get the answer, and we try to see through what is right and what is wrong. And so, at the end of the day, you have to. We need to have the judgment, not just justice, true justice, that has to come from the higher understanding.
Right.
Right. So. That's what we are trying to tell the world. Yeah,
it's kind of like,
China is kind of obvious, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like what Einstein said. You cannot solve a problem with the same consciousness that created it. You've got to raise your consciousness to solve the problems, to address the challenges that you are faced with today. And there are people who will sit there and they'll make a list of all of the challenges that we're dealing with. Not only the conflicts and the potential conflicts, but also when it comes to education or economics or whatever the institution happens to be, they'll run down this long laundry list. The aspect of temporariness, everything is temporary. Even this schoolhouse, if you will, that some people like to refer to it as, called Earth, where we come here to learn life's lessons. It's temporary. It's not going to be here forever. And maybe one day the scenario that you painted may happen. It's like, nah, we're going to start over, wipe out the Earth, and we'll just start over again, create another and all this kind of stuff.
You never know.
We don't know. You're absolutely right. Fascinating to contemplate. Why the cherry Bushido? What's the significance?
Oh, cherry. Okay, so in Japanese, the if you say the direct translation of Japanese title, it's a Patriot Girl, Crimson Bushido. That's like a direct translation. Patriot Girl, Crimson Bushido. So we kind of contemplated, and Master Oka gave us, what about the cherry Bushido? Because cherry kind of refers to the crimson. Crimson refers to a woman, okay? A cherry kind of remembers, and Patriot girl part kind of relates to the cherry. And also, we can't show you the poster, but there's a poster of this movie, and there's a Mount Fuji, right? And there's a cherry blossom right beneath it, right? So it really, it's a symbolism of Japan, of a Bushido spirit. The cherry blossom is almost like a symbol. So it kind of links together. The hero or heroine is a girl, okay? And there's a Bushido spirits that we want to tell the world. and about doing the right thing for the world, right thing for the country, love for the country, love for the people. So I guess we call it patriotism, right? So we all kind of mixed together. It became Cherry Bushido.
I love the
So cherry
symbolism.
blossom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the symbolism as you describe it. And I guess one of the other last elements we'll talk about here having to do with this aspect of patriotism, the one, I don't want to say the flaw or maybe it's the downside that some people will take patriotism to, is that they are patriotic for their nation almost to the exclusion of all others, or to the fact that all other countries, other nations, other cultures are inferior to. And I just don't get that that's what patriotism is about.
No, it's not. It's not. Maybe the world, the word patriotism has been translated or has a different energy to it. It's the true word patriotism is not that.
Yeah.
It's about love for your country. That doesn't mean you don't love other country, or it's not about your country is better than other country, and it's about love for your people.
Right.
And at the end of the day, it's about love, caring and trying to protect and turning to nurture the people around you. So at the end of the day, it becomes, I would say the true patriotism today is about loving Earth. It's not about country anymore.
Yeah.
We are such a small world now. Earth is like on top palm of God's hand. It's always been, but because of the internet and how much we can travel and we see the world with our eyes, the world is like a country. So true patriotism for this movie is of course about specific country, Japan, in this movie, right? Sure. But it's not about we are better than anybody else. But at the end of the day, it's a love for everybody and love for the earth at the end of the day. So
we
that's
are proud. Yeah, we're proud of our country.
That's right.
Whether it be Japan or the world.
That's right.
But it's not to the exclusion of other countries, nor to the perspective that others are inferior to us.
That's right.
I just, I don't care if we're number 1, number 10, or number 100. I just hope we're in the list. That's all. I just want us to be in the list. That's all that matters to me, is that we're in the list.
Yeah.
And to me, that's really the point. Just like you and I mean, you have skills I don't have, and vice versa. But we're both in the list. We're both on the list.
That's right. That's right.
And to me, that's really important. We're talking with Yoichi Utebi, and we're talking about not only the happy science, but the cherry Bushido. I don't know why I love saying that. The cherry Bushido. It just sounds very cool, rolling off the tongue. And we are here on Tell Me Your Story. I'm Richard Dugan, your host, and I want to ask you, as I have in previous programs, these 3 final questions that I ask all of my guests. And as I say, you've probably answered these in the previous interviews or even touched upon them in this one, but I'd like to ask them directly, as I always say. Before I do that, I want to let you, the listener and the viewer, know that you can listen to and view these interviews. We are on this station at 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. on Sundays, 1 a.m. Mondays, 9 a.m. on Wednesdays, which is our special edition of Tell Me Your Story. And we're live streaming at those times at richarddugan.com. And we also have podcasts of these programs, and they are at SoundCloud, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, Spotify, Stitcher, Player FM, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and many, many other locations. We are on YouTube, where you can watch these interviews. You get to meet us, so to speak, in virtual person, if you will. And that's YouTube, and the channel is Tell Me Your Story. Just look for the guy with the black hat. And we also ask that you participate in the Decade of the Perfect Vision 2020s, where we want you to spend some time going within and just being still, being quiet, listening to that still small voice. And also, if you can support the work that we are doing here on Tell Me Your Story, we would really appreciate any financial support you can give us. That's why we have a PayPal account. It is there for your security as well as ours. And when you go there to send, it's going to ask for an email address to send the contribution to. That email address is richard@richarddugan.com. That's richard@richarddugan.com. With that, I have taken up this particular perspective, this portion of the program, I must say, Yoichi, to say that we now enter the lightning round of our game show called Tell Me Your Story, where we ask you those three final questions we ask all of our guests. And the first of those is, who is Yoichi Utebi?
Who am I? I am I don't know if I answered the same question you answered last time. Well, I have to say I'm child of God. So I want to be as close to God as possible, and be I don't know, messenger of God. I don't mean like I'm a big good guy. I'm just saying I just want to be able to become a really, really good messenger of God's will. So that's who I am.
What is it that you hope to or want to achieve through the work that you are doing now?
Okay, so whatever I do, whatever, it doesn't matter, and I think it's for everybody else too. Whatever I do, I just every day of my life, I try to be, I try to give. I don't. It might sound cheesy if I say I want to give love, but I want my energy to be going outward to the world, even how close it is. It might be the person next to me sitting, it could be my wife, it could be the person at the cashier register, it might be the person I'm buying coffee with. It doesn't matter. I just want to be able to be a person who my energy is going outward for them, but not taking in from them. That's what I want to do. As long as I do that, I think I'm doing the right thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah.
Final question. What is your life's purpose?
Well, it's all kind of connects together. My life's purpose is to tell the world the greatest thing about how great happy science is and how great Master Ryuho Okawa is. So I want everybody in the world, I'm not saying everybody please convert to happy science. I just want everybody in the world to pick up a book of happy science one day and just read through it and judge for yourself. It's a good thing or bad thing. If you think it's a good thing, I hope you can study the teaching together. So that's my purpose. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you one final question here.
Okay. There's one more. Okay.
Is there a particular writing, a particular book that you would recommend to someone who wants to find out more about the happy science? Is there one?
Okay, so I would say that the core book is called The Laws of. I don't have it here with me. The Laws of the Sun.
Okay.
If I had, I can show it to you. But
I will show it to our listeners, especially in the video.
Yeah, The Laws of the Sun, or the latest the book is called The Laws of Messiah. Actually, The Laws of the Sun or Laws of Messiah. Okay. Those are the two books that I strongly.
All right, and you can find those books on the website happyscience.org. And Yoichi, I want to thank you.
Amazon, yes, definitely.
Again for joining us here on the program. It's great. It's as always a great pleasure to have these conversations.
Thank you. It's always been a challenge for me, but I enjoy it.
Well, I'm glad it's a good challenge, and I enjoy it too. And again, I thank you, and I thank you for listening to and watching Tell Me Your Story, New Paradigms for a New World. We are giving you choices and knowledge of those choices to help make your dreams come true. And until our next broadcast, podcast, videocast, love to lol.